How is it going, everyone? Well, Amazon Game Studios has been quite the story to follow over the last little while with New World. Now, I don't want to say New World is shutting down, but what else do you want to call it? They're gonna cease content updates with the game. New World Eternum just came out a year ago. That's when the game came out on consoles, and 2026, the servers will still be live for the game, so it'll still be playable, but there will not be new seasonal content updates and things of that nature, and who knows what's gonna happen in 2027. That game is not long for this world, and also another MMORPG that was in development over at Amazon Game Studios. The Lord of the Rings MMO is going to be canceled. It is canceled as a part of the recent mass layoffs, and I think this story is very emblematic with a larger story in the gaming world that, I've certainly been talking about as far as so many publishers, and you're talking about an Amazon being desperate to get into the live service game. That's what this Lord of the Rings, that's what an MMO is. It's a live service experience. MMOs really are one of the more premier live service experiences in terms of that really embodies what live service is. A constant, ever-evolving world that there's month-to-month subscriptions with certain games, there's constant expansions, so on and so forth, and MMO is really at the forefront of that live service-esque experience, and the Lord of the Rings MMO, I think on paper, very sound idea, and when I talk to people and I tell them about, oh, this game might have an MMO, or this game's MMO was canceled. I actually told a buddy of mine that the Lord of the Rings MMO was canceled. He's like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Lord of the Rings MMO, in that world, Lord of the Rings. I think it's all a great idea on paper. In execution, it is so much more difficult in terms of realizing a premier MMO. And there's a lot of MMOs in the game that are still running. Guild Wars 2 is still getting expansions and updates. I believe a new Guild Wars 2 expansion is either coming out here soon or just came out. I'm shocked that Guild Wars 2 is still around, but good for them. Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, there's a lot of premier MMOs that are on the market, but I think that idea, and this goes for beyond just this Lord of the Rings MMO, I think this is an idea that so many publishers have. Sony has definitely had that idea. We have a popular IP. How do we spin it into a live service property? How do we spin it into something that can generate revenue for us month over month, year after year? I think on paper, any suits that sit down and that don't follow gaming like that, that idea of, well, we have this IP in Last of Us, we have this IP in Horizon, we have this IP in God of War, or in Amazon's case, we have this IP in Lord of the Rings. And by the way, the aforementioned Sony IPs I just mentioned, all three of those games, two of them canceled live service experiences with the Last of Us live service game and God of War live service game. Horizon, we know there's a live service experience in development. Whether or not that'll see the light of day, who knows? There was a Spider-Man multiplayer project, but that idea is definitely on the table of, we have these popular IPs under our umbrella. How do we spin them into live service experiences that can generate money for us and revenue for us? And again, I think on paper, that idea sounds good. It's a sound idea on paper if you have a very, very narrow mind. However, I think now we have to realize that this is not going to work, in the sense of, we can't just take a popular IP, spin that into a live service game as soon as we can, and then expect that to be an immediate revenue generator, or be a successful product, because I think also from the standpoint of the consumers, I think the consumers at this point see through that. I think it looks very hollow. I believe when you have the idea of a God of War live service game, that doesn't excite anybody anymore. The idea of a live service or a Lord of the Rings MMO, maybe it'll have that inherent level of interest, and it would. If this game would ultimately come out, just because it's Lord of the Rings, it would have an inherent level of interest. God of War live service game would have an inherent level of interest, but it wouldn't be this overwhelming excitement about those games. That does not exist, because now I feel it comes across so shallow. I think people can see through what you're doing. Oh, you're just taking these popular IPs, you're almost bastardizing them, perceived to be bastardizing them, and you're just trying to have them fit into your mold that what you, the publisher, want to get out of gaming, rather than creating a game that people would actually enjoy to play. And I think that's a big problem when you do almost take away from these experiences, and I don't think we can be looking at doing that in droves. Sure, can we parlay a notable IP and try to make it a live service experience? If it makes sense. When Battlefield goes the direction of a live service experience, it makes sense because Battlefield is inherently a multiplayer game. When you're taking a look at God of War, Last of Us, which I get Last of Us factions existed, and I would have wanted to see what Last of Us factions would have turned out to be, Horizon and IPs like that, and try to spin them into live service products, I do think there's a level of, oh, you're just taking the IPs we enjoy, you're trying to make a live service game out of them. Now, Lord of the Rings is an MMO. In execution, I would actually love to see how that would turn out, but unfortunately, that is not going to be coming to fruition. Now, Amazon Game Studios, they had the first LOTR MMO project was a collaboration with Chinese company Layoffs, announced in 2019. That was canceled in 2021 when there was a contractual dispute. Then they revealed a second LOTR MMO in 2023 after partnering with new Middle-earth rights owner Embracer, and that was to be a persistent open world MMO adventure spanning the events of The Hobbit and the LOTR trilogy. And as far as Amazon's latest cuts, 14,000 people are losing their jobs, and that's, you know, the most unfortunate thing out of all of this, that the layoffs that we are seeing, and it's just going to continue and continue and continue until the industry does correct themselves. And I don't know when that correction is going to take place, but certainly whenever I see stories about these live service games, and we do get live service games that are successful, but I think it is important to point out these games that either come out and are disasters like Concord, or they never even see the light of day. And is this exclusive to live service games? Absolutely not. Think about a game like Star Wars 1313. Man, would I love to see that game one day come out. But there are single player games that also never see the light of day. It's just that with these live service experiences, it seems we're seeing that so much more. And in the case of these live service experiences, we're talking about resources that could legitimately go towards other areas that could be more successful. Like a studio like Bluepoint was iced for 5 years or 4 years, however long that they were after the work that they did on the Demon's Souls remake. When you're icing studios like that, and you're icing the Naughty Dogs of the world, I feel like this is something that is very much worth talking about. And Amazon has so many resources under their umbrella. They could do so much great work, but just chasing that live service bag, I don't know how far that's going to get you. New World isn't long for this world. Lord of the Rings, the MMO, that's not going to be sticking around. Is this Tomb Raider game actually ever going to come out? Fingers crossed that it does, and Amazon does have the Prime series in the works, so it makes sense to, you know, release all that in conjunction with one another, or, you know, try to piggyback off the successes. And speaking of piggybacking, again, on paper, I can totally understand the methodology and the rationale that goes into, hey, we have these successful IPs. What we want is successful live service games. More than anything, I assure you that is what these publishers want. That is what these publishers are desperately craving for, is to establish a repertoire of 5, 6, 7, 8 live service games. That's why Sony had so many games in development, and you know, ultimately, I think it'll end up as a colossal failure when you look at all the games that are canceled. Concord shutting down immediately, Fair Game, who knows how that's gonna turn out. But you just see it left and right, and there is a fundamental problem with live service gaming that I've been bringing up for, I feel like for over a year now, when I saw the push into live service gaming, is that you're not just competing with other games. There is a finite quantity we have in this world, and that is time. The level of investment that these games require, it's not gonna fly if you're just piggybacking off a successful IP. Sure, that's one thing, and it'll be like, oh, it's a new God of War live service games. Whatever, it'll have some interest in that regard. However, that's not gonna be enough when you're asking for the level of investment that these games are requiring for. And certainly, the top level games, they'll get all of that investment. Fortnite, right now, Arc Raiders is big, Helldivers was big, but for the level of investment that you're asking for, you can't have all of the these games be successful. It's just impossible. There aren't that many people playing video games and not enough time to go around where all of these games can be successful. Whereas a game like Spider-Man 2, you know, it sells its millions of copies and people move on. And for me, you know, looking at it, that's the style of gaming that I like. A game having an endpoint. I don't want to be invested into a game perpetually for eons and eons, but at the same time, the Spider-Man 2s of the world, the God of War Ragnaroks of the world, those are incredibly expensive games to develop for, and they have a ceiling. That is the issue with those games in terms of the ceiling that they have in terms of how much revenue you can make off of those games. Live service games, they don't have a ceiling. You can ideally generate revenue off of those games year after year, month after month, so on and so forth, and that's what they want, and that's why PlayStation, I view them to be releasing their games on PC, because it gives them a little bit of a lift on that ceiling that just releasing the game on consoles does, but ultimately, even releasing it on PC, it'll still have a ceiling, a little bit higher of a ceiling, but it'll still have a ceiling of how much money you can make off of those games. But certainly a story to follow here. Unfortunate with all of the layoffs, 14,000 people, that's insanity, and yet another game canceled. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Interested to hear what you guys think. I feel like most of you guys do, at this point, view live service gaming how I view it. Is it something that I absolutely hate? No, there are good live service games that come out. Arc Raiders just came out and is being received really well. Helldivers 2 is a game that I covered so much, but I feel like those games were designed with the mindset of being a good game first, and secondly, chasing some sort of live service bag. And those games are $40 titles, so that is a little bit different. But when I look at games that are just piggybacking off successful IPs, a lot of the times, to me, it just feels hollow, and it just feels like this desperate chasing of live service bags. But, you know, we'll see how it all turns out. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.